Yeah, I got to check with or give Tristan a report because I printed that tape and it didn't jive.
Okay.
And I think he might have the measurement slightly off.
Did he take one while he was here?
Yeah, we tore it apart and measured it and did all the stuff. It's in there now.
Okay.
Like you can go on there and pick the mod.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's on there right now.
Yeah, but is it bad?
Well, I don't know.
Or do you think you screwed it up?
It could have been me because it doesn't take that much to be off by that far. But like my 110 mark was, I had to move my sight to 115 to get it to hit. And when I walked back over to 20, it looked pretty close. And I'm out of time. Like I don't have any more time to dick with it. Or I would have went, well, go shoot it at 70. Go shoot it at 50. Like, is it just I'm not noticing it at 20 for the 5-yard difference?
So
wheeling.
You and I were talking about it the other day. Like those tapes that we built on this, like they turned out so much better than I ever could have dreamed they would. I mean, I've set them up from 240 to 305 and shot them out to 110, 115, and they're dead nuts. And so some of the other guys actually got calls this week from some of the other guys that have had these for a little while now, and they're like, dude, I know that we could probably get these on precision cut, but right now we're not coming up with the reason to. I've heard that from 2 different guys that I take very seriously about shooting long distance.
Sure.
And it's like, well, that's good to hear. I
mean, but I'm like shooting 350 or
yeah, I'm sure you're
second.
way off the walls with anything we've experienced.
Yeah, mine currently says it goes to like 190 or something on this.
It literally says 190.
It does.
I
I have to hold it out here so I can read it anymore.
I'm a 27 and a half inch draw, and I get 130 no problem, and that's not with a super light arrow. So
what are the black gold tapes coming out with? Like longest distance on them pre-printed?
They're not distance related. They're numbered 1 through 54, and it doesn't really work that way as far as like. It's not really necessarily meant to be distance driven, I suppose. 120 on the printed tape, if that's your question.
That's what I mean.
Right? Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, 120 on the printed tapes, but it just varies so wildly. Even some of the guys I've seen, like with relatively close specs to mine, like will be 2 or 3 tapes apart, just based on axle to axle length, peep height, all the things. So.
Yeah, I kind of was wondering on the long end, and that makes sense that the fastest tapes are going to be 120, 130, 140.
You
guys should keep going.
Well,
keep going.
So I'll be honest with you. And are we recording this?
Yeah, we've been recording.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, you're on.
So early on, like we looked at doing this a lot of different ways on the tape system, but with 120, I mean, this site really was. There's a lot of build back. I guess that I can feed you guys a story on this, but there's a lot of build back on this site, and part of this was this site in particular. Part of the story into this is simply that it was meant for those guys that are out chasing tack events, long distance shooting, just kind of bringing it more current, I suppose, with what's in the marketplace right now. But we weren't worried about that so much as just our end of it. What can we bring more than what we've been giving? And so, that's really what this site was about. That was kind of the entire intention of it. And so going to those longer tapes, I mean, I've been a guy that I've used Archer's Advantage for I don't know how long, a really long time, pretty much like everybody has. The precision cut stuff I haven't really used a whole ton of, just haven't used it a lot, been playing with different tapes, doing other things. But with this one, we kind of knew that people were very likely to default to a precision cut or an Archer's Advantage once they started reaching out to those longer distances anyway. So that was probably where a lot of that led to, Brandon, was just...
That makes sense.
We knew it was going to go that way one way or the other,
right.
So...
Yeah, so why spend the money to print a bunch of super, super long tapes?
Yeah, and they're not cheap. I mean, that's for sure. It's not inexpensive to build those silly things through third party. I know Josh has played with this a little bit on his own, but when you're doing it like we are working with somebody, it's not inexpensive, that's for sure, so...
Well, before we go too much further, welcome to the Podium Archer Podcast, coming at you from Nashville North Archery. Follow me on Instagram at @BrandonMcDonald_Archery. Follow this guy everywhere at Podium Archer. Hey, you got any used bows right now?
Yeah, 1 or 2.
1 or 2.
Pretty sure we got 1 or 2.
Oh, you had like 400 last week, so
I think they just changed strings out on 40-something bows today.
Today?
Well, we weren't getting strings there for a little bit. There was a glitch in the matrix, and they weren't getting the orders.
What's it do with your eye?
This one? I don't know. It's been bugging the crap out of me.
Dude, it looks like somebody's, like you have a ghost in your house that scratched you up.
Oh,
you probably got something in when you were mowing.
I guarantee you, yeah, for sure. I mowed yesterday.
Yeah, that's gnarly,
Yeah,
dude.
and I brush mowed till I couldn't see, basically.
Well, yeah, there's your problem.
Yeah. But that one's in the cage. You're enclosed. So
Got it.
The mower, yeah, someone probably just smacked me or whatnot. I don't know. Woke up this morning and was like, my eye's bugging me.
Yeah, if you're watching on video right now, Josh looks like a Halloween character.
Lovely.
More than normal.
Do you get throttled by allergies down here?
Not really. I mean, I take a daily allergy pill just because I'm normally very congested to begin with, and that kind of helps. But outside of that, no, it's all right.
I got off the plane like 35 minutes ago, and I can tell, like, I
Dude,
can
you
feel
already
it
got
here versus Montana. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some different stuff in the air for sure. So.
Yeah,
We're known as the allergy basin. Like Nashville, people that don't have allergies show up and like you just get smoked.
Huh.
Yeah. That's there's some sucky things about Nashville, and that's one of them for sure. Yeah. All right. Before we move on, where can people find us on audio?
Well, all audio platforms, honestly, as far as I know.
I think.
But yeah, and just if you're on there, please follow it and leave us a review. It helps a lot. It's basically the one way that the public can actually see the popularity of something in that world, because you can't see views or downloads. Like YouTube, you can go watch and see how many people have actually watched something, but the audio platforms don't show you that, but they do show you reviews. So if you could leave us a review, a 5-star review, it would be phenomenal. I'd really appreciate it. And if it's not, just don't do it.
And definitely click the like and subscribe button. It's easy. Just push the thing. Right. And apparently, so I've heard this lately, that the outdoor channels, they're starting to basically push people off. So you would be subscribed. 998. Dude, two more people get us to 1,000.
Just 2 more, please.
And then what do we get no prizes for that. It's just cool to see it go to 4 figures.
Yeah,
okay.
That's pretty cool.
All right.
There's not a lot of them in our space that have that many reviews.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah. There's a few, but not really.
And then use discount code BMAC for 10% off.
Mike?
No, hold on. I got to
name?
redo that. Discount code BMAC, BMAC for 10% off at podiumarcher.com, because I don't want anybody to get confused and think that B-Mike is the new thing. Yeah. You gave Michelle Obama.
I should go create B-Mike and see what happens.
Give Michelle Obama a discount code.
Oh, God. What's the UFC guy that says that or whatnot after one of his fights?
Don't.
So bad.
Don't. This poor guy's like, oh, God, what are we doing right now? What are we doing? By the way, who do we have here with us today?
This is Kelly Dice of Black Gold and Tight Spot, right? And Ripcord, right?
Yeah.
Aren't you the whole enchilada now?
We call it Black Gold Accessories these days.
Yeah,
it was just kind of a marketing piece to pull it all under one heading there, make it a little bit easier in everybody's world.
Like it.
So
I like it.
Yeah.
How long you been with those companies? Because you didn't start at Black Gold, right?
I did not. No. So yeah, I'm Kelly Deese. I'm the product manager, I think is my technical term. I do a lot of different things with the companies. I do certainly product design and management and sales, kind of factory support for all of our dealers and retailers. Definitely, kind of play a big part with those guys on a daily basis for sure. Our sales team. So yeah, I do a lot of different things, but yeah. As far as how long I've been there, I know Josh has been down this road with me before. It's why he's smiling and he asked the question. Kind of off and on for about 25 years now.
Yeah.
So kind of did a stint in the early 2000s with Black Gold, was there for a while, and then moved on to other things, and then ended up back again in 2015 actually. And at that point in time, Black Gold, Tight Spot, Ripcord, we were all separate entities in very separate locations doing different things. And so Joe Jackson and I were at Tight Spot, was there for through 2019, I guess, until we eventually kind of merged the companies together. And that's kind of when I came on board with the Black Gold side of it. Mike Ellig, who is the original owner of Black Gold, I've known Mike forever. It seems like almost 30 years. And so, at different points along the way, early on, knew about different things they were doing, and he was cool enough to let me play with some of the stuff and whatnot. But been a part of it for a long time in different stints for sure.
That 25 years is a long time. I know it's a little bit off and on, but like we've had guys in here that they just tend to bounce around. Like it's this weird circle. Like everybody knows everybody and everybody's worked for everybody if you're a career guy.
Yeah, this is a big, small industry.
Yeah, it's a good way to say it.
I think a lot of times people don't realize how tight this industry is. You may not know somebody, but you know somebody that knows that person, and it probably doesn't take very long before you get hooked up at some point. And you walk into trade shows, everybody knows everybody. It's a pretty small circle in there. So, it's cool, man. It's a great community. We're pretty fortunate to be a part of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. So going back, like how old were you think when you started kind of working in the industry? Were you a bow hunter before that? Like what was what kind of got you into it?
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about this on the way down. I knew you guys had asked me a question like this, and I actually had to think back a little bit on this. And so if you'll indulge me a second, I'll kind of go down a little bit of a rabbit hole with it. But literally helping one of my dad's buddies move one day. I was in high school kind of a thing, and at the end of the day, he came across a bow that he didn't shoot anymore. And he's like, "Hey, are you a bow hunter?" And I said, "No. I grew up hunting in Montana for sure, but wasn't a bow hunter." And he's like, "Well, here, I'm not going to do anything with this. You should take this home and go figure it out." So I was like, "Okay, cool." I didn't really know what to do with it, to be honest with you, but I knew I wanted in on it. And so I ended up taking it over to kind of our local archery shop, or semi-local, I suppose, and walked in the door pretty timid, pretty intimidated, really. And the guy that was behind the counter in there, was pretty cool about it. He was like, what are you needing help with? And he could see it wasn't something he'd sold me. He knew. And I had a hard time walking in there, to be honest with you, because I didn't know what I needed. But he was super cool about the whole thing. And it was actually just a really cool interaction. And so, literally went home, broke every arrow I had, in like the first 7 minutes, and was probably back over there like a week later. And so for me, this industry is funny how it ties, because fast forward about 21, 22 years later, and I'm sitting on a porch in South Texas, not far from the Mexican border. And I'm sitting there with this guy, and I'm telling him this story about, because he'd asked me, he's like, how'd you get into bow hunting? And so I'm telling him about this, and I'm like, yeah, man, like, somebody gave me a bow, and, went into the archery shop, and the guy was cool enough to treat me right. He could have easily gone the other direction, and he didn't. And so I'm telling him this whole story and building it up for him, and he's just sitting there listening to the story and absorbing it. And it was a lot of fun, man, telling him all about it. We finally get to the end, and I'm down there on a dealer hunt. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Gary, that guy was you. Like, this was you, man.
Oh,
You're the guy that got me rolling on this all these years ago."
That's awesome.
And the look on his face looked like I smashed him between the eyes with a brick, and he was just like, "Seriously?"
He was like, "I used to be such a dick. That's amazing."
So cool that all these years it comes full circle. The guy that got me rolling, now I get to take him to Texas, and we're on a hunt together, right?
That's cool.
That's the kind of stuff that doesn't just happen all the time. So that gets me pretty fired up.
Dude, that's awesome. Special. That's a great story.
That's neat.
I hope that that's the shop experience that everybody has, though. Like, and I know it doesn't happen, but I think like the thing that you just said, where you were scared to go in, I think that keeps a lot of people away.
Yeah, and
that's a shame, because I think that most shops would be welcoming, hopefully, to somebody, especially if they're like, man, he's new, he doesn't know what he's looking at. Like, let's encourage him. Here we go.
Well, it's hard too, from our point of view. Like, we have so many amazing, great dealers and retailers across the country and really worldwide, but we do get so many calls from those people that they don't have that guy that's just down the road a half hour or even an hour. Their closest guy is 3 hours away, and they haven't had the best experience there. That's far more common than I think most people would probably believe, and we get those calls constantly. And so, yeah, you always hope that the guy is going to go in and get great service, great, advice, whatever it may be. We hope that it's always that way for people, for sure.
Yeah. But we've all had those experiences too.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, the reality that it's not always that way, but it should be what everyone strives for and attempts to achieve in their business. You got to be able to create a good environment and warming and welcoming. I liked what Chris said. He said, your goal is to get that person more fired up about archery than when they walk in the door by the time they leave.
Yeah.
And you should treat every person that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's really true. And unfortunately, there's a lot of the opposite of that. People that are burned out. It's hard. It's the hardest industry to make money at. Like, it really is. It's very, very difficult to have a successful archery shop. And the ones that are just hanging on are worn out. They're barely making any money. And then somebody shows up with something they could have bought from them, but they didn't, and they're frustrated and yada, yada. It's not great. But yeah, it's good that it's good and fortunate that you had that experience, because you might not be here today.
That's right. That's exactly right.
You might not be here at all. That's pretty wild to think about.
When we talk about crotchety shop owners, there's people that come to mind in your head, aren't there? And we're not going to ask you specifically.
There may be a few.
But I'm just wondering, like, how do you guys as dealers, is it possible, or as people who have products like this that you care about, is it possible to be like, hey, don't be a dick to people, stop it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you outright call them out on it, but at the same time, like, I think that they typically tend to get the picture for sure. And frankly, it's natural attrition. You're not going to last that long if that's how it's going for you, you know? And so with that, you know, I think those guys tend to kind of weed themselves out anyways.
That part's kind of a bummer it's good and it's bad, because obviously when you get a guy like Josh who serves well, and then especially with the online stuff, people stop going to the little shops. And if your little shop guy is just a little cold even once, they go, I'm just going to go get it online.
That's true.
I'm not going to go worry about the shop here. And I think that might, even though it's good for this shop and online, I think overall for archery and the entire community, it's not super awesome.
That whole dynamic has just changed so much over the last handful of years, though. You know, it's especially from the manufacturing side. You see the guys that maybe are resilient to go with anything that's online based. I get it. You know, for a lot of those guys, they're going to have to hire somebody that can come in and handle that. So I totally understand it. It creates a lot of complications for those people. A lot of adapt and survive at this point, it seems like, honestly.
All right, let's jump back into you. I'm sorry, I'm derailing it a little bit. So you mentioned that you hunt. So when you got your first bow, like how was the hunting early on? What were you going after? Because you were in Montana, right?
Yeah. So I'm from Wyoming originally, but I grew up in Southwest Montana, and so believe it or not, of all the things that Montana offers, the first thing I was trying to kill with a bow was whitetail deer, and it was just because one of my buddies, big farm. I'm a ranch kid myself, and so he was like, "Hey, I got these whitetail bucks keep coming down in this field. You should come shoot one of these things." And it was like, okay, that sounds pretty cool, and so I put a lot of time into trying to figure out how to do it, and never even came close to scaring a deer. I mean, not even kind of, but it lit that fire, because for me it was that challenge of so many close calls that just never stood a chance. But it lit that fire, and it was like, okay, we're going to put this thing together. And I did eventually. And, you know, that just led to the next thing and the next thing. And, you know, I've been pretty fortunate. You know, I typically get to hunt at least a handful of states each year, do a lot of different hunts between my family, my friends, you know, I'm fortunate. I grew up in a hunting family. I mean, my dad and granddad and uncle started hauling me along when they didn't have to pretty much carry me anymore, right? And so I grew up in that, you know, and elk hunting, you know, mule deer, whitetail, antelope, turkeys, you name it, all of it. And so been doing it a really long time. Definitely try to never feel like I take it for granted, because frankly, we have so stinking much opportunity where we're at. It's just,
I'm jealous of that.
Yeah, a lot of people are. And that's exactly what I try not to take for granted at all.
Yeah. I grew up in Denver, and the irony of I wasn't a bow hunter then, of moving to Tennessee where there's nothing to hunt except whitetail, and then being like, you were in Colorado, you could just go, you just go back and stay there. And then I would have driven up in Wyoming, since Colorado's full of blue hairs now. Mm-hmm. All right, well, where do you want to go? I mean, he basically jettisoned us through a 25-year career with black gold off and on.
Well, and there's been a decent amount of changes during your time there, right?
I've seen changes for sure. Yep.
Yeah, some great, some not great, some, you know, transitions that weren't super fun.
I like to think of each of them as a learning experience. I've seen things done a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Yep.
How long have you been working on this thing?
Yeah, so this is an interesting story. So I think it was June 30th of 2020. The patent ran out for Trophy Ridge on vertical pins. Mm-hmm. And so Black Gold decided to jump into that market and kind of test the waters a little bit. And so with the dual track sight, which is the 2-pin vertical, I know Josh Josh knows that one pretty well. That was really kind of Black Gold's jump back into that. And, it's crazy how these things snowball. It was at that exact same time we're rolling into COVID and things were just out of control, which presented its own challenges. And so we introduced this site, and Aaron and I were just talking about this a couple days ago, Aaron, our general manager at Black Gold. But, I think we forecasted like 600 of these things for the first year. We had over 6,000 on order in the first 5 weeks, and they jumped to 26 weeks back ordered for almost 2 years. It's just one of those things that like nobody saw that coming kind of thing. And so
Not nobody.
Well, hey, it was honestly, it was very stressful there for a long time.
You probably got tired of seeing my number calling that thing.
Yeah.
Like, dude, I ordered like 1,000 of these. Where are they?
Well, and what was crazy is just like I look back on like what our production was doing at that time. Josh has been to Black Gold. He knows what we are, and we're not a huge facility. We're not, we don't have unlimited resources. But during COVID, we were literally running, 4 times what we run right now, as far as personnel, and it was just wild.
Yeah.
And so, and even at that, we were still, during COVID, we were 15 to 25,000 sites back ordered at any given time for 2 years.
And you guys, the initial run you thought was going to be 600? That is so crazy off.
But that's what COVID did, right?
Yeah.
Like it just blew up life. And so, anyways, we got into the dual track. The dual track's been wildly popular, and it still is. Like it still is incredibly popular. This site, or at least the beginnings of this site, came right on the heels of the dual track, kind of the initial development. And it went down the pathway for a while, had pretty much, was fairly well built out, and then we ended up just having to kind of switch gears and just go do other things for a while. And we didn't get a chance to come back to this for a while. And so when we did eventually get a chance to kind of come back to this project and take a peek at it, the original version of this new site, frankly, wasn't a lot like what this is now. It was very cool, but it was not something we were going to be able to manufacture.
Josh is sighted in, and I'm really want to
He's
click
grabbing the
buttons.
windage. Just move it the same number back and forth, buddy.
Yeah, it wasn't something we were going to be able to do. It was complicated for sure. And there's pieces of that design that we may, look at again somewhere down the road. But in terms of trying to get this back out, we follow into the next year, and suddenly we start seeing other companies jump on board with the vertical pin sights, right? Kind of had to know that was coming, and that's okay. There's a lot of really good stuff that's out there. Like there isn't a sight company out there that doesn't make great stuff. And when we finally got a chance with this to kind of bring it back full circle, we jumped back into the project, and honestly, there were so many things about that site that, we had this whole checklist built out, and it was like, nope. And we basically went back to square one almost with it.
Was it because you guys had seen other manufacturers come to? Okay.
It really wasn't, Brandon. It didn't have anything to do with other manufacturers. It had to do with, we had this concept that we wanted to follow. We knew where we'd been with the dual track. We knew what it was. It's like, okay, there's a lot of new requirements in this new site that we need. But it was really just more, this is what we're thinking about. This is what we want it to be. This is where we know we've been, kind of a thing. And so following this through was easy. This was just about, kind of trying to get back into that same place, but adding to it because, the dual track came out 5 years ago. Bows have changed enough in 5 years that the requirements of what a site has to be able to do now is very different than 5 years ago.
That's interesting.
That's created a lot of new challenges. And so that's really more where this was born from. So we talk about that concept of this site was really meant for those guys that are wanting to go to a TAC event, reach out there, do more than they've ever done before, and have a more refined piece to do it with. But that's where a lot of this came from as far as having flippable windage. We need to be able to put it both inside or outside of a riser and have it in the same unit without additional pieces, right? we wanted to have internal axis adjustments so that everything, hidden fasteners, keep it clean. Let's not make it exterior, angular, those kinds of things. And just, make it very fine and precise on the axis adjustments. Because, for an archery shop guy, when you're hustling in July and August, there's nothing worse than having to spend 10 minutes on setting up a bow sight if you can do it in 45 seconds, right?
Yep.
Time is money. And so trying to make it easier for both the shops and the consumer, if the guy's at home because he doesn't just have that shop that's right down the road and he's trying to get this dialed on his own and he has the equipment to do it, guy can get this figured out pretty easily at home. It's very user friendly. But, the windage system was a huge piece of that puzzle. The scope housing on this, all 3 pins have 1/4 of an inch of vertical adjustment, and that was really just kind of patterned off of what the dual track was. So we were kind of following in that same mold, but now we've got 3 of them. It's like, okay, but how can we take that same guy and give him more for what he's doing? It's like, well, let's make these pins so they're all removable, right? So we can shoot this as a 1-pin, a 2-pin, or a 3-pin. If he's shooting indoor spots in the wintertime, shoot it as a single pin.
No kidding. Is it hard to do?
It takes you about 45 seconds to pull the back shroud off, and once you've got the shroud off, you drop the pin block out, remove a pin. It'll take you a few minutes to do it, but it's not hard once you've done it once.
Are you removing the entire fiber, or are you housing
the shroud?
Yeah, but that's what I'm wondering. Is you're literally pulling the entire fiber out, and then if you wanted to put it back, you'd be rerunning the fiber.
Yep, and it's got a little bit of a memory to it, so it'll kind of almost go back into place on its own.
That's cool, though. That's a good idea.
So if a guy wants to hunt with it at 3 pins or 2 pins, but he only wants to use it as a single pin for a different purpose, there you go. You don't have to buy separate heads. You've got it all right there in one place. And part of that too is, as you look at the sight, as you're holding it there, if you look on the inside on the back, you'll notice there's a channel inside of there, right? We sell piles of lens kits for black gold. And one of the things that I hear often from people is they don't love the additional length and weight, what it does to balance out a bow. Okay, well, if you pull that back shroud off, you can actually slip your lens directly into that channel.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then just
the channel
replace
on the inside there.
The shroud.
That's nice and handy.
So the lens kit's built in there for the guy that wants to use it. And if he doesn't need to.
Well, the other black golds, it was like a plastic, or it was a mount that was on the outside of the lens. So it was basically only for black gold.
Correct.
Whereas these, if you're doing it this way, it seems there's guys who probably have collections of lenses that they would fit this.
Yep.
That's kind of handy.
Yeah. And part of it too is, the light, for example. We designed this light. We wanted it to be ultra low profile so that you almost didn't even notice it was there.
Correct. You don't.
You get guys that are ripping them off, dragging them through the brush and doing different things. So we designed this light. It's 5-stage, which frankly is kind of overkill.
a lot.
But it works well. It slips in and out. We have a molded, just a plastic plug that will also go in the top that a guy can put in for hunting those states that don't allow for the electric devices to be used on your sight. Part of it too, though, is if you look at the back of the scope housing there, that shroud, we did that very much on purpose. If you're a guy who's ever hunted Texas, for example, at night, which I have done a lot, one of the worst things you can possibly do is flip a light on and watch everything scatter, right? And so if you flip that light on, we purposefully built that shroud to come up and cover the light and the face of the sight so that you don't notice it from the front end.
It's just diffusing the light left and right onto the fibers.
Correct.
Yeah, that's cool.
So
the light kit is really slick. Like you literally don't notice it's there. Most of the time I would take light kit off of anything, but I wouldn't on this.
Part of what we were also able to integrate into this, and again, these are just like, they're just black gold things, right? But, everybody knows black gold for having bright pins, and everybody recognizes that purple photochromatic cover. And we were like, well, how can we utilize what we have here into this sight? And so if you look at these photochromatic covers, that's the one thing that we have is that every other manufacturer, at some point in time, that fiber has to be obscured where that fiber is entering a pin through the body somewhere. We were able to use photochromatics so that fiber is exposed 360 degrees around, plus through the bottom. So that light is literally traveling through the pin directly from the base.
So the photochromatic is basically along the bottom of the scope. This is for everybody who's just listening, and then all the way around the fiber pins on basically the front of the scope housing.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
So
and it'll purple like it. Okay. Cool.
Yep. Use the same chemical that we always have, and so that works really well. These pins, I'll have to admit a little bit of this was probably my influence, but we went to 15 thousandths pins on these. My old eyes are getting to that point where I don't see 10 thousandths like I used to, and 19 just becomes too much. And so with this, I pushed pretty hard for 15 thousandths pins because I felt like it's just such a great, you get the best of both worlds there. And so we will have both 19 and 10 thousandths pins available that can be put into this. But 15s are going to be the stock size. And, I can see a lot of guys already are going to do like 19-15-10 or 19-15-15 or something like that. That's going to be pretty popular once we get to that place. Another thing about the way we design this too is just simply being able to take the bottom cartridge and just removing it. So if you want to have multiple cartridges, maybe you've got a 1-pin, maybe you've got a 2-pin, a 3, just insert new cartridges. You don't have to rebuild the whole pin structure of the sight back. Just put in new pin blocks.
And y'all will sell the pin block separately?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
When you're shipping it, will it ship with the fiber as well as the... Okay.
Yeah,
well,
so the pins have the fiber in them already.
Yep.
And they'll be just mounted into the block.
Okay. Oh, so they're okay. Got it.
Yep. So
it's
literally
that should
just
be pretty slick and easy to swap them out then. It's not the same as like UV's cartridge. It's not going to be that easy, but it still gives you variability in what you're trying to do here, which is kind of nice. How did you guys decide on the dimpling on the white? Just arbitrary?
It really was. We looked at we had, I think, 5 different designs, and everybody kind of looked at it and came back 3 days later and looked at it. And it was literally just like that. And
they were like, golf ball.
Eventually, eventually we kind of came back and it was like, what grabs your eye? And we had several different designs there.
It looks more like a gear. I think.
In a sense.
Yeah, like it's
Spoked
uniform
almost.
to the end, like it's a spoke. Yeah.
But
just didn't. It didn't look like a dimple, but yeah.
I wish I could tell you it was more scientific than that.
No.
Well, based on our conversations with George
cool,
and Bodie, it doesn't matter. And actually, you shouldn't even be able to see the sight housing or the scope housing.
God.
I don't understand that. Somebody's gonna have to explain that to me in more detail. But
The peep that I had put on the bow that this was on was one that had like slots above and below. Supposedly, it doesn't change diameter in different lighting, and it didn't matter because I couldn't see my ring, and it would drive me batty. Like trying to I can't get centered. Like this is driving me crazy, and I can't see my level. Like how do you not see your level in your?
They said that they'll draw into it though, and keep the bow level because they're looking at it with both eyes, and then bring the bow to your face and then close your eye when you're ready to go. Or I don't know.
If you're moving if you're moving around,
stuff.
your bubble's moving a little bit.
Yeah.
It's got to matter.
It depends
somewhat.
on that. Maybe a little. I don't know.
So you said this is easily flippable.
Yeah.
How do you, is it have to do with that screw right there?
That's exactly right. Yeah,
When you say flippable,
So
what do you
I
mean?
have like to move it from left to right so you can flip it around. So when I already did the video for this, it's not out yet, obviously, because you haven't released the site, but I didn't see that screw, and I about tore this thing all the way apart trying to flip it over, and I'm like, I guess they just send it to you the way they need it. So I said that wrong for all those that are listening. You can take it apart. So is there a stud in here when you take that out?
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Okay.
So that second axis block's got a stud running through there. So when you pull the tri-lobe knob off the front, you just take that screw out and you can flip it. We built this so that you can literally set all 3 axes. You can flip that block and you won't lose your second. It's going to maintain position. So if you have to pull it off of a Dart and Tritech and throw it into a Matthews bridge lock, as long as your axes are set, it's still sitting there in place doing the same thing.
Cool. Yeah, that's when you know you're old. I didn't even see the screw when I was looking
That's
at
a pretty decent sized screw in
I
there
know,
too, buddy.
I feel like an idiot. I'm looking at it like, wow, I'm really dumb. So I'm assuming I've literally haven't played with this a ton, other than looking it over when I did the video, bolting it on a bow, seeing how it squared up. How do you move the wheel independent? Or I'm assuming you can. So if you want to change this,
Yeah. It's just removing the 3 screws on the wheel there and just popping it off in that speed ring where your tape is sitting. It's just single screw pops off kind of a thing. So
the wheel
So
comes
you
off
can-
and then the ring comes off?
correct.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Yep. And again, knowing that guys are probably going to shoot multiple arrow setups, right? Like you got a hunting setup, you got a 3D setup, you got an indoor setup. You'll be able to buy like the speed rings separate just so that you can run different sight tapes on there, and then also indicator rails, so a guy can kind of put his whole setup back together without getting too deep into the weeds.
Oh, that's a pretty good idea. Because you could just pop the rail off with those two screws, and then your indicator needles can stay where they were. So you could just get 2. That's a pretty decent idea.
Yeah.
I mean, really the idea was let's create something that's just not a one-trick pony, right? Like the guy who's using this is pretty progressive. He's probably somebody who shoots a lot, and he probably has multiple purposes for it. So let's help him with that. Let's give him a tool that fits multiple purposes.
When you were putting a sight tape on this, would you take the wheel off and then wrap the speed wheel?
Yeah,
And
that
then
was
pop
the
it back
easiest
on?
way to do it for sure.
Is that how you did it?
No. No, I monkeyed it underneath there and lined it up and stuck it on and wheeled it around. I'm out of time, man.
No, I get it. I'm just wondering if it would have been like easier.
I wish I would have had
Gosh,
more.
I wish you wouldn't have
Yeah.
dialed this thing in. I want to just break stuff loose and make noise.
Well, I have
with
to
it.
change that tape anyway, so we can take that apart if you want. The only thing that matters is that you don't move the windage, or if you do move it, you move it back where it was. Everything else is easy to find.
Yep.
And I'm gonna end up doing it. We had to see loosens the windage. Doing a dick.
I want to hear it. I want people. All right, what do we got for? Okay. Like you definitely get good feedback out of that. So
I want to throw a bunch of unnecessary swears in just because you're messing
No,
with my
don't-
site right now.
don't
So
do
you
it.
have to figure
Don't.
out how to get those out of there.
I just put it back. All right, I have some complaints because I can't tell like where there's one little indent in the front of this where the
Yep.
windage thing is. Will you guys make that more pronounced?
At some point in time, we'd really like to just laser mark that, Brandon, honestly.
Yeah.
I've heard that same feedback from a number of people. There is actually a
can see it.
teardrop machined into it, but it's not that visible.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of one of those things where we started with that, and it's like, let's see where it's actually at. Once you start playing with it a bunch, it's like, that's not visible enough. And so, yeah, we'll probably look at like trying to laser mark that at some point.
I mean, the other thing that you could do is just instead of beveling the edges on the block, just keep them sharp because then you still just get a finished edge.
Little
That's
reference.
that's reference. You got Allen's? I really want to take this
Yeah, hang on.
off. I just want to
That's
see
fine.
what it's like when you
Yeah,
take it off.
I need to anyway.
because
it's
this
fine.
has always been like on when you're doing something with the wheel. To me, if you can't take this off, it's a giant pain in the ass to try to get the tape on there. But if you can get it off, and then you can have some variability by buying multiple
Probably
of
that
these,
one,
that's pretty
I'm
cool.
guessing. I just happen to have some right over there. All my stuff.
Good thing we did that too, because I was loose.
Yeah, well, Tristan pulled it apart, but I ran to get a sticky note and a caliper so he could lay it on there and measure. And by the time I got back, it was all apart on the table, so I didn't know how he took it apart or when it came apart. But yeah, it looked pretty simple. I just hadn't messed
It
with
is.
it yet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's relatively simple so that when you're at home, it's not going to overwhelm you.
Nothing's like super intimidating where all of a sudden
Yep.
there's just parts that fly everywhere.
No.
Yep.
It is
definitely had that
wild though.
experience.
Like this site, it is wildly complicated to build a machine.
Oh, I'm sure.
And for reference, I've had, even some of our team, we've kind of said that and they're like, well, it doesn't look that difficult. And it's like, well, for reference, most black gold sites are going to be somewhere between, 5 to maybe 11 or 12 machined parts, 12 on the high end.
Mm-hmm.
You get into like the black gold competition site that we used to make, it's 17.
Mm-hmm.
This one's 34.
34?
And
34
so there's a lot of stuff going on there. So the machine time
There's one screw in that, he said.
is not short.
Yeah.
Where's the screw that holds it?
I don't see the screw on the face.
Did you hide it under the tape there, Josh?
Oh, is it on the end of it?
It's on the outside edge. Yep.
Oh,
So you
okay,
usually
okay.
start the tape just on the outside edge of that screw. That way you can always access it.
I didn't see a screw because if I didn't see that screw, I don't know how I'm not seeing that screw.
Okay, so on the outside of the wheel, like on where the
I've got to
equivalent
take
of
it
the
off
tread,
anyway, so I'll peel it off.
then there's
I
a
got a
screw
different
that would
one binder.
Correct,
undo.
yep.
But that was super easy because these all like these are very obvious where they're going to line up.
Yep.
It's not some like hidden tricky trick thing that's
I'll keep peeling.
going to
you
be
keep
difficult
talking.
to put back together. So like, yeah,
It's pretty straightforward.
that part is. That's pretty cool.
kind of goes back to what I was saying about we wanted this to be, pretty intuitive for the guy that doesn't have somebody helping him out. He's not going to sit at home and struggle with this for a long time.
Unless you do it like Josh did it, and then maybe you will.
Yeah.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Trying to get up from underneath there. There we go.
Well, and that indicator rail will pop off pretty easy with 2 screws too, so you can just
Oh
take
yeah,
that
there's
off.
the screw right there. It's like right about where my 45 was.
The other thing is you will murder your hands if you get into those indicator needles.
They're
too
sharp.
hard. They are sharp as a bastard.
They are sharp.
Is there just one? Yeah.
Just a single
so
screw?
it's right there.
Then you have to go down the sides
And
with that.
those speed rings are machined with a bevel on there so that you actually can't push it in far enough to create any issues with
Oh,
pressure.
Gotcha. I gotta be honest. I wish you left a flat tape. I love flat tapes.
I've heard that so many times.
I love flat tapes.
And it gets so goofy with the ratios,
Yeah.
on the vertical versus the round for sure. There's been
I
it's
see the
been
bevel where you
interesting
get the
hearing the
stop.
feedback on that, honestly.
I'm sure. Well, I mean, for me, with my vision and whatnot, I can tell when I'm pointed at faster, easier when it's flat, and my hand's not touching it. Like when my hand's touching it and I try to turn it, it obstructs it a little bit. If you have great vision up close, it's really not that big of an issue. But it was easier for me to do it quicker. That being said, I think it was 2 years ago I hunted with a spot hog boonie when the first year it came out. I didn't have any problem. It was, I mean, it seemed like I was looking at a little bit more to determine how far it was. I do like that the indicator depth is wider on the tape itself, so the numbers are farther apart, so it is easier to see in between them. Like a flat tape,
People don't
I
know
can't
that.
do.
Explain
Yeah,
that.
so on a flat tape is going to be equal movement. So as your scope head moves down, it's a 1-to-1 ratio of movement. So your sight tape's going to exactly reflect how much the scope is actually moving the same distance. On a precision cut tape, when you start shooting fast, it starts to look like a black blob. If you keep like 1 yard increments in there. I pull 1 yard increments out. I make it as far apart as I can because I can't even see in between it. Well, I was used to doing that the last couple of years because I've almost always shot flat tapes. When I made the tape for this, it's spread out a ton. Like I can easily see in between. I could probably go back and put the individual 1 yard increments in it and see in between them. Okay, because your ratio is so much broader. The distances on the wheel aren't as close together because the wheel's moving more than the sight's moving. So your numbers of I'm explaining it horribly.
No, you're doing a good job.
I see you go over there going,
No, you're doing a good job. I don't think people know that. I don't think people know that
so
you actually get wider gaps between.
You get wider gaps between your yardages when it's not on a flat tape, and that's probably one of the main reasons why people do it is because it's easier to see it, which I do like, but I'm just so used to looking at a flat tape. I can move it. I can move it quicker.
This was really the first time, I've been shooting this sight now for probably the last 12 months, 13 months, as we were kind of working through, testing things out and doing different
And I just
stuff.
got this a week ago.
Well, I know.
We saw
This
the
thing did a lot.
prototype. We saw
This
the
did a lot of
printed
This made it
version.
through a lot of changes, a lot of iterations, but been shooting this thing for about a year, and I did the same thing. The first few days that I shot it, I'm so used to just kind of tipping your bow inside, seeing that angled piece there that gives you
You might as well leave it
a
apart. I gotta put the
yardage.
tape on it.
So you just kind of learn to tip it the
Unless you
opposite
want
direction.
it together while we're going over this more.
No, I'm just.
Yeah, just leave it off. Unless you need to.
I think you're right. I think you probably get used to it, and the eyesight thing is a big deal. Like
It is.
the gaps being wider on that is kind of a thing that people should know. So if it's designed that you guys would want people to be taking this off, which this is the perfect way to do it, because it would take you 2 minutes to take these two wheels off and then put your tape on. Why are the indicator needles standing off of this so much?
Just for, honestly, you're going to get guys that build up tapes. I promise you. You're going to get guys that put
Those
a tape
people
on
are
a tape on
retarded.
a tape. And if you have a little bit of standoff, then we don't start running into that issue where they're tearing them off. And so You just
So you'll sacrifice a level of precision for the short bus people. That's what you're telling me.
I don't think we're sacrificing much in the way of precision.
The hard part of it is I can look at that and move my head around and I get a different reading.
Yeah, it'll change if you're up high or down low,
Yeah,
for sure.
that's
No,
the
you're
hard
right.
part. You start getting the needle away from the tape and it's harder to tell exactly what the needle's pointed at.
But by the way, that's super nitpicky, but that's what we're doing. Like we're nitpicking
Right.
this stuff because
Well,
that's the level of quality.
We were talking about this before you got here, and I said I can guarantee you they got 100 phone calls bitching that they can't get their tape underneath it because it's too tight. So that's what you get. Deal with it. Complain about one thing, you're gonna get a different result. And what would be cool is if they were adjustable.
What's that?
The needle itself, like if you could move the needle in and out.
It does.
Oh, for depth, you mean,
Yeah.
versus the slide?
Yeah, so then you don't have that problem.
Yeah, for sure.
You could pull it out if you need to. If you got 17 tapes under there because you're not taking them off because you're lazy.
Yeah.
Or push it all the way down to where it's just barely touching or just slightly off of it, so you have that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're making 30, what did you say, 36 parts?
34.
34 parts, right? And don't need to make it more complicated than it already is, but that would be kind of a nice little feature.
Well, it's a funny thing. Like, you've been doing this a long time. You know how this is. Like, we got, you eventually get to a point with any idea where it's like, okay, we can keep adding to this. And believe me, we could have kept adding heavily to this.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually you just got to go ahead and run in a direction and go make the thing.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
And I can tell you that V2 is already,
Yeah.
we've already got that stuff staged out.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that we would have liked to have incorporated into this that eventually, we just had to pull the trigger and go somewhere with it. So, I don't know, it's cool, man. Like, we have such a great team. I feel so fortunate to have a lot of the great people that we have, but a lot of our sales team, like, these guys are bow hunters, man. They're killers. They want to go out and shoot stuff, and so they have a lot of great feedback. And our internal team, we've just got a lot of great guys, and that's kind of really what this was like every other site company out there. Like, it's just sitting down and coming up with ideas and saying, okay, that's good, but we didn't account for this, or we can do this better, or, you can always do something better. Guaranteed. You can always do something better. But this literally was just born from the idea of, A, we're all bow hunters. We want to go kill stuff. But B, there's more to the story, right? Like, we're all multi-use guys. We like to go to TAC events. We like to go to 3D shoots. We like, and so it's like, how do we build a tool for everybody here?
Right.
And, that's all a bow site is. It's a tool. And
I put it back so we wouldn't lose the parts.
Of course you did.
That's why.
Yeah.
that's probably one of my favorite things about what I do, honestly, is bow sites are a tool. And every job has a specific tool that's just better. A crescent wrench will get you there, but a socket's way better, right?
Yep.
And so that's part of what is so cool about what we get to do is, I see, especially now, especially being here in Nashville with you guys today, right? Like, I have seen so much change in who the core consumer is, and we still see this continued refinement of who this guy is. Black Gold makes a lot of different things, and that creates a lot of confusion for people, I think, at times, because they're like, well, what's the difference in this and this? But if you start breaking into the nuts and bolts of it, it's that there's always one degree of separation from the last thing that creates a refinement that's a benefit for the right guy, that tool fits, right? And so it's so much fun seeing the guys in the Midwest and the East that are really taking off with a lot of this stuff that 5 years ago, 10 years ago, I don't think it was really on their radar a whole lot, And so when I look at all of this and I talk to people, I love going to TAC events and talking to people because they're like, well, why do you guys do this? Or what about this? And it's like, okay, you start walking them through it and showing them, and they're like, oh, okay, I get it now. Well, here's what I want to do, but I've never done this before. Cool, let's talk about it, and you can kind of walk them into the right tool for the job. They don't necessarily need more. They don't necessarily need less. There's a tool that fits this purpose. Okay, cool. And then I'll talk to that same guy the next year. He's like, all right, I've done 3 of these now. I'm ready to step up. Cool, what are we doing, And I get that all of the time. I do that all of the time with people. Every TAC event that I go to, I will see people that I saw the year previous and the year previous and the year previous. Like, they always make it a point to come back and say hi, and I love it, man.
Cool.
I enjoy that so much, seeing those guys catching up and just hearing how they've grown with it. and just kind of seeing what their enthusiasm is for it. So
it's funny how the tacks have informed the technology, because you sell a bunch of targets now that have these huge backdrops on them because people go, I'm going to stick that thing at 100.
It is the most popular target we sell by a long shot.
Yeah.
And it ain't even close.
And you said that you're basically like, you sell sliders, and that's like pretty much it now.
Yeah, like if you walk over to that wall and find a fixed pin, it's because it's cheap, and that's it.
Right.
Like I think we still do carry like Excel's higher end fixed pin sight, and that's it. Like nothing else sells. People aren't buying them anymore. They're just not, at least not our customers. Now, it doesn't mean that they're not being bought. I'm sure there's probably a decent amount of chain store purchases that are still fixed pin sights. I'm sure there's a decent amount of, pre-built combos that people get that have fixed pin sights on them. But a guy's typically not walking into a store and buying a fixed pin sight so much anymore in my market. And that's true for both of my shops. Like I don't even know if we have a premium fixed pin sight in Spokane at all.
really,
Like I don't even think we have them on a wall somewhere. We might have them upstairs in a back box in case somebody buys them, because it's an online portal too, right? It's like our access is to everyone, not just the people that walk in the store, and they're just not selling. Every once in a while, or when you get close to hunting season, you'll get some fixed pin sight purchases, but in general, it's all sliders. It just is. It's all stuff that you can shoot distance with, but you don't have to shoot it at distance when you're hunting. You just get to play the game.
Yeah.
And it's fun. It's just the reality. It's a lot of fun to put that thing out at triple digits and send arrows at it.
yeah.
Honestly,
well, you showed me your moose at the house, and I was so excited. I was like, I want to shoot the moose
I
off your porch.
can't wait to show you. So on my back porch, you can shoot my moose target at 140 yards.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just right up by while you're cooking on the barbecue.
You're gonna have to use your precision cut tape though, because the black gold tape won't cut.
Yeah, it stops at 120.
Won't get you quite
You
that
can
far.
you can actually back up to. I haven't put a range on it yet, but I'm pretty sure it's 200 yards, and you can see it. So were you over there when my enclosed cargo trailer was sitting over there? If you stand right at the tail of the enclosed cargo trailer, you can see the moose target, and it's like 2 bills.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't think
That's
I've ever
fun
tried to shoot
sending
one.
that far, though, isn't it?
It's so good.
Yeah, I love that.
My favorite thing, like I don't shoot a lot anymore, like at all. I really don't, because I'm so damn busy, and it's hard for me to justify that time. And if I want to be really good at it, I have to shoot days in a row, 30 to 50 arrows each time, minimum at least, right? To get my body back in shape, which I'm in the time of year where I do that again. And every year, this is the first year I actually haven't gotten to do it nearly as much, because I've been here more. I would at least 3 nights a week go over to my cousin's house, and we got a range set up out to 200 yards. There's a 200 yard bale, there's a 175 yard bale, and there's a 150 yard bale. And you can stand in his garage, in his shop, inside, whether it doesn't matter if it's raining, whatever, you're standing on concrete floor, got music going, maybe a pop or two, and just chucking arrows at 150 yards, and then drive the buggy out to go get them and bring it back and do it again. And the problem with shooting that far away, knowing that you're going to know your stuff's right? There's no way around it. You're going to know if your sight's right or wrong. You're going to know if your left or right's off. But you have to pay a lot of attention to how much wind's out there, and it doesn't take hardly anything for you to move a foot. You'll be sitting there, you'll fire, and you'll head out into the black off the core, right? Because we've got the 4-foot 365s that he bought a couple of years ago. I might have bought them because he's cheap. But either way, you send it out there, and you miss a 1.5 feet to the left or a 1.5 feet to the right, and you're looking, and you're like, there's no wind where you're standing here, and you're looking at the grass, and then the grass farther out, and the grass farther out, and you can see it. Or we were so baffled one time because we were both like shooting group like that, 2 feet left, and like, I don't see it anywhere. We drove halfway down there and stood on the top of the buggy and stuck your hand up, and you could feel the wind was up there, but it wasn't down where we were. It's wild, and not hitting the grass at all because of the way the draw runs where that's at. You miss it, but it's the most effective way to know your crap's right. It just is, and it's a lot of fun. It just plain is, which is why I've always shot lighter arrows, why I've always shot sliders. I always wanted to just be able to shoot it as far as I could and hold a pin on it, not try to sit there. I'm going to hold that tree up there. Let's see if I can hit it kind of thing. No, I want to point at it and hit it and know I'm pointed at it and hitting it. And the first sight that I was really, there were a couple sites that I could do it with, but the first sight that had every adjustment that I wanted it to have to be able to do that was yours. You covered the 3 axes adjustments appropriately. Your scope head moved independently of the rail, so I could max out its ability to move, and I could readjust the 20 without having to run a wheel or move a needle or anything like that. I was like, no, just move the head back to where you're in line, and everything else stays the same. And for the longest time, like it was rare I ever shot anything else to hunt with, because I could look at that sight and I could tell this is a hunting distance sight made by hunters that understand what they actually need it to do to hunt with it. Not a target guy over there is trying to put some different wheels and crap on it to make it a hunting sight. It was a hunting sight designed by hunters. You could tell. And for the longest time, it's all I shot. I've shot a spot hog for 1 year during hunting season, and I think I used an Ultra View for like a month and a half, and I just couldn't aim with the pins. Your pins are the best visual pins I've ever aimed with, period. They just are. And I've tried everything, and I've played with everything. The Excel's pin's pretty decent. Like, it's pretty good to aim with. But the shape and structure and diameter and everything of it, it's just the easiest thing to aim with. And it had every adjustment I needed to be able to effectively adjust it to hit correctly at 150 or longer. So I appreciate what you make. And I have appreciated what you made for a long time. Even if I gave you a whole bunch of shit about stripping rails out, because it was a problem, which you resolved. And I was like, well, can I tell people? I was like, no, we don't want to run into this problem. It's like, if they have the problem, we'll fix it, and we've got a resolve for it. But I'm just like, let me tell. No, don't.
Yeah. No, it's funny, man. I was talking to Aaron the other day, and I was like, you realize that Josh is going to force me to talk about this at some point in time. Like, I guarantee it.
Well, this is old news, right?
It is. It's old news.
2 years ago, or whatever, 3 years ago, somewhere in that vicinity, that we were running into issues with it, and I bashed you pretty good about it, because if something's wrong, I feel like it's my responsibility to say something about it, even if it's not the most friendly or best way to do it. It's like, hey, this is wrong, and I'm not gonna use this until it's right. And that's you fixed it, and I tried. I put a wrench on it and tried to strip it. I couldn't get it to strip.
It's crazy, man. And you're not wrong. I mean, that's on us, right? That's on us as the manufacturers to make sure it's right. Mm-hmm. And I talk to guys about this all the time. They'll ask the question, and it's like, at the end of the day, here's what we did. Here's why we changed it. It's just a better mousetrap. Like, we understood how it would get damaged or broke. And, and it's funny from our end of things, you can look at a site one time for less than 3 seconds and the whole story, and you didn't ever have to hear a word about it. I promise. Mm-hmm. You'll know what happened. And so a lot of times I think people don't necessarily realize that.
Yep.
But, that's okay. It's good. Like, we have such a good group of people that are so knowledgeable about what we build. You can look at it one time and you know what the answer is. Anybody in our building can do that. Literally anyone in the building. And so it just helps us to get better at what we're trying to do, right? And so that was where, when we moved into the MODD site, like, this is a completely different drive system. This is not what is in the
there's nothing on there's nothing on here that's from a previous generation that I could tell, other than maybe the adjustment for your third axis and the way that goes through. That looks very similar.
Ish.
Yeah.
Done quite differently.
Yeah.
The old one was actually a pressed third axis. This one is not. This is actually a free third axis on that pin. But this drive system is different. And one of the things that, we harped on a lot, and I'm actually really, really happy with the way that turned out, was the gear that's inside of there. It's big. It's about 2.5 times taller than our previous sights. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that we didn't want was knowing how people can sometimes get after this stuff. And especially when, again, if you're dialing out to long distance, you're dialing this thing down hard until you're hitting stops, right? Mm-hmm. And so what we didn't want to have happen was the ability for them to spin the axle in the gear. And so we're actually even taking the stainless steel shafts in these guys, and they get finish knurled. So they've got about 1/1000th and a half of knurl sticking off the entire axle exterior, and it's being pressed through that gear. So when I tell you they're tight, man, they don't come out easily. They don't give up easily. So, I feel like we took a lot of measures to really make this thing pretty beat up proof. So,
there's zero there's nothing. I'm not pulling like crazy hard, but like the thing feels like tolerances are super tight. It does not feel like I'm going to be able to strip that out. I'm not trying like crazy hard, but
Yeah, let's not. I have to use that. This
I know.
I was gonna
this
say,
week.
I was gonna tell you go for it, Brandon, but Josh might get a
I
little
didn't see you
grumpy.
bring
So
another one
I didn't bring
ya.
any with me. So
Yeah, and I don't. I
whatever
have
would you do if I broke your sight? We would have to
to
just
not
go
shoot at
outside.
Bowfest and drink beer.
right,
Done. Perfect.
Yeah, it'll be a little disappointing for the video I want to film, but outside of that, yeah, be good.
Interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a really nice site.
it's been fun to follow the reactions.
Yeah.
So I built 2 of these and then took them out to the Pennsylvania TAC, and we were like, let's just
set it on the counter.
let's just see what
Let's
happens.
just do this.
You know,
and
you
see
were
what
there.
happens. Oh yeah.
And I did. I just literally set 2 out on the table. We never said a word about it, just to see would people recognize or understand, and it was immediate. And it was wild to watch how that unfolded, because that first day, like, we had a lot of people that came to the booth and everybody immediately noticed it. It didn't go unnoticed by anyone that stopped, which was cool. By the second day, though, like, we were starting to get groups of guys that were coming over, and they were like, hey, you know, I talked to somebody and they said this is over here. We want to see it. By the third day, it was big groups of guys that were coming over, you know, and they were talking about where they were. I don't honestly know. They were talking about some pages they were reading it on or something. You know, I don't know if it's Facebook pages or Archery. I don't know what it was,
Yeah.
but they were hearing about it. And by the 4th day, you know, Jamie and I gave the spiel on this site to hundreds and hundreds of people. And it was really cool just hearing the excitement and, you know, watching guys play with it. And, you know, I'm kind of a person where it's like, I don't like, if it fits you, it fits you. I'll tell you what it can do and then let you decide if you think it's the right fit. And I would tell you that every guy I talked to was just like, yep, this is it, you know, and that was cool, right? Mm-hmm. You never know if anybody else is going to think your baby's cute. So you're like, I don't know.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong, man.
So it's like, I don't know. So it turns out,
People think your baby's cute.
well,
Nice.
Nobody yelled about how ugly he was.
It's a good. To me, it seems solid. The more we play with it here, I definitely like the fact that the wheels come off. I think that's a huge deal. I got some little nitpicky things, but I think overall it's an improvement over what you guys have had in the past.
For sure.
I would want to judge it based on the pins, because I'm with him that the black gold pins are what kept me shooting a black gold. There was just something about it.
The number of times I had a different sight on my bow pre-hunting season and shot it for like 5 days and took it off and put a dual track back on my bow. It's like I just can't aim the same.
Just
Like I can't getting out there and trying to focus on a little image way down there, and I was like, I can't do it. These just aim so good, but super functional too. The outside of the stripping, I've never had one of these things fail on a hunt ever. And I did have a friend shove a stick through his sight housing and it bent his pin, but we bent it back.
Yeah.
I grabbed a pair of needle nose and very carefully lined it back up, shot it at the target a couple times. It was still functional.
Yeah.
Which you're going to get that with anybody's thing. You shove a giant stick through a sight housing, you're probably snapping the pins off. But outside of that, like
Those shark fins are actually pretty sturdy.
oh yeah,
Like they're
they're
not small.
yeah, no, you're gonna have a hard time with that, but doing anything to that. But yeah, it's just they don't fail.
There are certain things. I mean, I think people would be surprised. I mean, you see sites that we see quite a few that get dropped out of trees.
Sure.
Frankly,
Yep.
that happens.
Sure.
You know, and the site's always the first thing connects, right? So we see stuff that gets dropped out of trees, but truck doors, tailgates, stuff gets slammed, run over. You know, we kind of see it all. Horse wrecks, I'll get at least a few of those a year. You know, that something comes back just completely thrashed. You know, typically when it's broken, it's pretty legit. You know that it's broken, and so.
Are you seeing it fail like at the third axis where it's pushing over? Or are you seeing
Never.
it literally like
Never.
squash the scope?
No.
Okay.
No, they'll break scopes. They'll break windage bars. Like Josh said, you'll see people run a stick up through the housing and bend some things. Very occasionally, they'll actually break a pin. More often than not, it's probably a fiber.
Yeah. No,
so
you guys
it's
with
something-
warranty have been phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, we take care of all of it. You know, we don't. we take care of everything. We really do. If it's been good to you, let's make sure it stays good to you. So that's not ever in question.
What are you guys going to ship in the box? Like, what will this come with?
Yeah, so it's going to come a couple different ways. The sight on its own, it's going to come two different ways. It's going to come with a bridge lock dovetail. It's also going to come with a quick link mount. Those are kind of the two mounting systems we're going to roll with. There's not going to be an exterior style mount like we frankly have had on most of our sights in the past, like an X-frame.
Yep.
We kind of figured the dovetail had that covered, which I'm going to skip gears for a little bit here, but that's exactly why it has the windage system it does, Brandon, because, essentially when I look at most of the black gold lineup right now, the concept of what's there, we sell multiple lengths of windage bars for different sites because risers keep growing in width, and that's causing us to have to react to it, right? And so that platform hasn't grown, just the risers have. And so we keep extending these windage bars out. And so that was one of the main things that we were hitting on with this site was we don't want guys to have to buy a secondary piece. We don't even have to make a secondary piece. So Aaron and I literally went down to both of our local archery shops and got our hands on every bow that was produced current year and some prior, and sat in my office for a week and a half, 2 weeks, and all we did was sit there and measure risers and sight windows and measurements. And essentially what we ended up doing with this was there's a 1/4 of an inch more windage available here than what any bow on the market could require.
Oh, nice.
And a 1/4 of an inch
that's a lot.
That's a lot of real estate. Yep. So we were hoping that we won't get to a place where we have to come back and revisit that and be like, well, time to hit that one again. So, but we wanted it to just be excessive in that regard so that nobody has to buy additional pieces. It'll fit anything you want to put it on. I think we've solved that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. All right. So people, when they're buying it, they're either going to buy it with the dovetail or they're going to buy
a quick link.
When you say quick link,
sorry,
no, you're fine.
We call it a quick link.
Okay.
Everybody else calls it a pick mount.
Okay, just making sure.
Yep.
Just making sure that we're clarifying for the peoples. And then, okay, what else in the box?
Yeah, so you're going to have, you'll have the sight tapes and instructions inside of there. The box actually has a really cool sleeve inside of there that everything sits inside of. It's all pre-fit foam, so the sight sits down inside of it, and you can carry it around, and you're not going to have things moving around inside the box.
Okay.
The kit version of this, which is something that we'll also be selling, it's going to come. We also make a 5-pin horizontal head for this,
okay.
And so it just literally pops on and off with these 2 screws, so it's quick and easy to swap that guy out. And it's built more kind of like one of our traditional heads, I suppose, in the sense of the pins moving vertically there. But in the kit version of this, you're going to have, whether you get it with the quick link or you get it with the dovetail, whichever version, it'll have the 5-pin head. It's going to have a lens kit in there. It's going to have a single pin cartridge that's included with that. It kind of has all of the things. So you have most of the toys in front of you that you're going to want to use. You may end up having to switch out what your mounting system is somewhere down the road if you're shooting a different bow, but that literally is a single screw where it pops on and off, and so that part of it's pretty easy. You'll have all of the other pieces. We'll have an additional indicator rail with indicators in there and a speed ring so that you can swap that out between different setups. So just, it's fairly comprehensive.
That's pretty cool.
Going to have everything in there.
Because it'll basically give you everything you need to hunt and then everything that you would need to target. And I'm talking like magnified indoor 20 if you know, like target.
Yeah.
That's cool. So do you know retail prices?
So $599 is the retail on the single site as it sits right there. And then on the kit portion of that, I think it's $999. And for those that are going to ask the question, because people will, I think that if you buy it as the kit versus buying it as singular accessories along the way, it ends up being about a $260, $280 difference.
Okay.
And so, that's kind of one of those things. I don't think it'll be for everybody, but we certainly have them on order. So guys out there, the right people are out there for that, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I assume you think you'll sell some of those, don't you think?
I ordered some.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll sell a ton just because it's $400 more. But
yep.
If you're interested in using it as a target site and a hunting site, it's kind of no-brainer because there's a couple of things that you're going to have to buy to do that with that will be included with it, and then you'll have extra stuff that you probably didn't pay extra for that you might use at some point. So I think that there'll be some that sell. It's just probably a little intimidating to drop a G on a site right out of the gate, you know. But I think we'll sell some. But
just the glass, so people don't know those lenses are kind of expensive. Like it's not like you're buying $10 lenses
usually
for decent glass.
$100 to $250 depending on what it is and what kind it is. It's not unnatural for it to be that much.
Yeah.
How's the back order status?
Long. It's a long one. It's good.
If you build sites as fast as you can from now and don't take any more orders.
Yeah,
How
I'll
long
be
did it take
honest,
you to get
Josh.
done with it?
It's hard to give you an answer, and I'll tell you why. This is no joke. You can't make this stuff up. Like, I wish I was joking when I said this. The fixture plates for the pins on this thing.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the coolest pieces of art I've ever seen. It's actually 4 stages deep to build these pins. It's pretty wild. And the guy who is like our head machinist / mad scientist at Black Gold, Jay, he literally fell out of a boat and broke his leg last week.
Oh, no.
Now,
Jay can sit his ass on a stool just fine, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Come
sure
on.
you can push buttons from a stool.
the hard part of that story is Jay only has one leg because he has a prosthetic on the other
You're
side.
a bad human.
So, Jay, we love you, buddy. You know we do, man. But you're in a tough spot right now. So
that's a bummer.
So that kind of slowed us down a little bit from getting additional fixture plates built for this thing, literally. So if we could get through the extra plates, we'd be moving just a little bit quicker. But and right now, honestly, we're not even sure what it's going to look like maximized. But I can tell you, we've been building parts on these guys now for about the last 6 weeks, full production, and so we've got a lot of stuff there, and they're burning through it. You know, even right now as I'm sitting here, heck, I've been building these things in my office in what little bit of spare time I get here and there, just trying to help them out. You know, I'll sit down and I'll build some sub assemblies. And do what I can to try and get them that much further ahead so we can get these out that much quicker. So, I mean, it literally is all hands on deck. It's pretty wide open at Black Gold right now, and it's only going to get deeper. So, I don't know, Josh. It'll be a few months for sure.
You should be a politician because you know how to not answer a question.
I don't know how to give it anymore, honestly. You know, I don't know for sure what it's going to look like when all is said and done. But
this is the joys of American-made small business.
Right.
That's what it is. American-made small business manufacturing. Yep. Like, they could go get a bunch of stuff from China, and they probably could have put some orders in, and boom, bang, boom.
Yeah, that's not what we're going to do. Nope, these guys are
Going to get one-legged Jay to go knock them out.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So it'll be a hot minute, I think, before he's back to rejoin us.
Poor buddy.
Oh, man. Yeah, it was hard to hear that the other day. But
you wonder if God's got it out for a guy like that.
Oh,
You're like, listen,
man.
You gotta feel like you got some real bad luck in that scenario, right?
No, obviously we hope he gets better quickly. I'm just
sure.
messing around.
But yeah, we'll be building these as fast as we can, and I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of challenges that have come with this. It's been amazing how many different things. Just little things. It's always little things, but little things that come up, and at the end of the day, they were things that to some people may not have mattered, but it mattered to us. Just if you're not going to do it right, just don't do it. So we had to make a few revisions on some things that we didn't like, and I would rather go that direction than put something out that people are going to be disappointed in. So. For me, that was pretty important. For Aaron, that was pretty important. Our whole team, it was a pretty easy choice every time one of those things cropped up. It's like, nope.
Hey, you've been telling me for 3 years, just wait, we got a new site coming next year. I see you the next year, you're like,
well, and that's where, when these projects get pushed back a little bit, and it's just one of those things, some of that stuff was not in our control, I suppose, to an extent. So, I'm excited for, honestly, what I'm really excited about is, this is a cool first step. That's great. But, I've been around the brand long enough, and I know our core customer really well. You know, I look at the numbers. I know what black gold is. I know what we sell, and I know who that guy is and what he's doing. And what I'm excited about is the stuff that'll be coming. That's what I get excited about because
For sure.
2045. I'm
this
excited
Yep. No, I'm excited for the stuff that'll come because, you know, there's definitely a lot of things in the hopper that you know, we have on our minds. It's no different than this, right? Like I told you, V2's already, you know, conceptually we're already
Sure.
down the road with V2 quite a few months. And it doesn't end there. That story doesn't end like that.
Right.
All that's just a carryover to other things. But it's like, how do we bring some of these things to the guy that maybe that's not the right tool, right?
Sure.
And so, you know, I'm a bow hunter, man. Like, I love to shoot 3D. I do a lot of it. I enjoy going to TAC events and stuff. And like Josh, I am terribly guilty of loving to shoot arrows way too far out there. I just get a kick out of it. I always have. But at the end of the day, I'm just a bow hunter, right? And there's so many things where, you know, I feel like I try to surround myself with people that are kind of students of the game a little bit. And, you know, I've got some friends that are, you know, certainly pretty good resources to go to as far as if you just want to talk accuracy, what can you make it do? You know, you get people that you can rely on for that. And I've got, you know, a lot of it's just people that I know, my friends, my buddies. You know, it's been wild watching. That's probably one of the biggest joys I have, honestly, is watching my interior circle of buddies that, you know, in the time that I've been doing this and been a part of this industry, I've watched them go from guys that started just like I did to now, like, they're pretty elevated in their games. Like, they're pretty qualified, you know. I was out shooting arrows 2 nights ago in Wyoming with them. And I sat back and just kind of watched these guys, you know, just absolutely smoking the dot at, you know, 70, 75 yards, you know, and just sitting out there and talking and shooting. And you know, these guys are just smoking down tiny little groups. And it's like, boy, we've come a long way, guys. You know, and so my buddy Brett especially, like, he keeps me super grounded in this stuff because he's always, you know, he's really elevated his game a ton. And that's cool for me to watch because it's like I can bounce ideas off of my buddies and be like, hey, what would, like, if we did this, or what about something like this, or what would help, you know, or how do you see that? You know, and so we get that input from our customers, we get it from our dealers. You know, our dealers have been one of the biggest influences for a long time on stuff that we make because they come up with ideas and, you know, and so you just get all these different forms of feedback. And it's cool for me, right? Like, we get to build stuff that our people are out there using, right? You know, so next time I'm on a hunt with my buddies, they're out there killing stuff with our equipment. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's pretty cool, right? Like, and if something went wrong, you find out it went wrong. And if it went right, it's like, oh, well, what did you do here? Or, you know, you start asking those questions and diving in a little bit. And so, I don't know, it's pretty cool to be able to have that ability to be the guy that's, okay, I'm getting the firsthand knowledge here. Now I have the ability to go back and affect it. You know, what do we do here? You know, and so that's a pretty cool place to be.
See, I think that attitude is exactly the attitude that keeps a lot of the people that sit across the table from us in the archery business. Because they feel the exact same way. They go, no, I get to make stuff for people that then go make their dreams come true. Like, they get to go on adventures and they go get to kill a moose in Alaska, or they get to, you know, like that kind of stuff. I think it's cool. I could see the fire in your eyes when you're talking about it. And for a guy who's been in the biz a long time, like, it'd have been easy to get a little jaded, but you still got it. It's cool.
I'm fortunate, man. Like, we've had so many phenomenal people. You know, Josh knows, you know, so many great guys that have come before me. You know, I'm fortunate to get to sit where I sit now because there's been so many good guys that have come before me in our company and what we've done. And but I guess at the end of the day, I'm the guy sitting there now. And for me, it's important. Like, we really do have a phenomenal, like, sales team, all of the people that are a part of it. Like, people want to build good stuff, right? Like, we all want good stuff that we believe in and we back it up. And, you know, we feel good about telling you about it, right? Like, if we can't feel good about it, why are we bothering? So it's important to us, you know, and I hope that element carries through to people and they understand that. So when they call Black Gold and they're like, I've got a hunt in 3 days in Kansas and I just broke something, like we'll typically bend over backwards pretty hard to try and figure out, okay, how do we get this fixed for you? How do we accommodate this? You know, it matters to us, man. It matters because we're that same guy. We're no different than you. So I would hope somebody would, you know, step up and cover us the same way if we were in that same boat.
That's
so
cool.
It's awesome.
You draw any good tags for the fall yet?
It's going to be a good fall.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm kind of stoked. I'm usually a pretty quiet guy with that stuff, but I did draw one pretty good tag. I'm a
You
mule
don't have
deer
to tell
guy.
units, obviously.
No.
Yeah.
I'm a mule deer guy. Like
Okay.
that's my bread and butter. I mean, you know, I hunt everything. In Montana, we're so fortunate. We have so much opportunity.
Yeah, stop talking about that. I hate
Yeah.
it. Stop doing that.
My bad. But we're so fortunate. Like we literally hunt deer, elk, antelope, turkeys, bears, you know, whatever. Every year we have those tags available. And I usually, a lot of years, I'll go down and start my year actually in Wyoming. Have a hunt down there I do with some of my buddies each year. It's a high country mule deer hunt. And that's what drives me. That's where I get kind of cranked up. And so, you know, usually start the year with that and then come back to Montana and kind of work our way through the seasons. We have such liberal seasons in Montana. You know, we've got basically 10 total weeks of just regular season between archery and then carry over into rifle that you can hunt. We've got a lot of season to work with, and there's muzzleloader seasons behind that. So we got a lot of time to hunt. So every year includes, you know, I love those early season mule deer hunts like that. You know, that there's
Like
no
velvet, or are they hardhorn?
I've only been fortunate enough to kill one velvet buck, but yeah, sometimes they're still velvet. But you know, it's early. I mean, you're September 1 through, you know, the 30th, I suppose. So it's still pretty early. That mule deer, he's not acting like a mule deer in November. Those are two different creatures doing two very different things. Elk in September are very different than November elk, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so like we get to absorb both sides of that, right? Like, so it's like a 4-for-1 here kind of a thing where we're getting to do a lot of different hunting different animals, different places, acting different ways, you know, and you throw antelope in the mix there. And so, pretty stoked about this season. You know, I drew a mule deer tag in Montana. That's going to be a pretty good one, I think. We've killed a couple of pretty solid bucks the last couple of years there.
When you say pretty solid, what do you mean?
Pretty good deer. Just
Pretty good deer.
Pretty decent.
Pretty good, decent. 130. You know.
That's good to say.
fine.
Did this deer have a score? Like, do we put numbers on things? Somebody clearly doesn't want
like,
to. All right,
why? You know, and so like my best friend Brett, like him and his boy actually have 2 really good archery elk tags down in Wyoming this fall. So I'll go down and probably spend some time in September with them. That's a hunt that we do a lot, and it's a lot of fun. And certainly there's some big bulls that live there. My dad drew a great elk tag in Wyoming. You know, so I'll probably go spend some time with him. My brother-in-law actually drew what, in my opinion, is probably one of the best mule deer tags in the country, that a lot of people have never heard about.
Well, okay, what unit?
It's a late season migration type of a hunt, and it's, you know, there are some true giant deer that get killed on that, and so
Cool.
like just a lot of different things going on. And
Are you in grizzly bears the whole time when you're doing all this?
for some of the hunts, yes, some of the hunts, no, but definitely my home country down in northwest Wyoming is pretty loaded up. There's plenty of bears around, that's for sure. Montana, we don't really ever have issues with them.
Okay.
But Wyoming can be a little bit of a different cat for sure.
That doesn't bother you at all?
I grew up in it, and I think it's just one of those things you just head on a swivel, be smart, but it's not something to be scared of or nervous about. No.
It's so interesting. I just keep thinking of, I did Wyoming 2 years ago, and like there was constantly, like almost felt like you were at war, but it was at war with the grizzly bears. Like it was just always, a couple weeks ago we were right here, and then this guy charged us right here, and then we go walk 15 more feet, and this guy, he ran up the, you know, it was just constant the entire time you're there. Do you think that the grizzly bear should be taken off the protected stuff?
Oh boy.
I just didn't. I mean, with how deep of the areas that you're in, you're talking about, I figured you might have an opinion.
Yeah, no, definitely. I do have an opinion. And it may not be a popular one. This is just the way I see it, but I do believe that the bears are recovered enough that they're to that point. I am not an anti-wolf guy. I'm not an anti-bear guy. I have no issues with them being on the landscape. But I also believe that there's got to be control measures put in place. Not only that, but like the grizzly bear issue, I've wondered for years why, once we hit that point where they feel like things are in a solid spot, why not use that resource to regenerate the resource, right? Like, can you imagine if Wyoming Game and Fish or Montana Fish and Game said, okay, we're going to allocate one grizzly bear tag and it's going to go up for auction. Now you think, if you've ever been to like the sheep show, for example,
Yep.
This would be absolutely no different.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that type of a situation could generate a tremendous amount of income for further preservation, conservation, choose your words however you want to choose it. But I think there's opportunities there. Can you imagine being the opportunity to be the guy that's killed the first grizzly bear in the lower 48 and
Right.
whatever
Somebody
it's
pay a
been,
lot of money
35,
for
40
that.
years?
Yeah, somebody pay a lot for that, for sure.
And so to me, it's just one of those things where it's like, sound management, there's no issue with not putting that in place, but I think we have an opportunity here maybe to kind of further that a little bit. And so use the resource to generate the resource, I guess.
I think I read today that it's going to end up on the ballot for reintroducing grizzlies in California. Did you see that?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
I want it to happen. I just want to see.
Yeah.
I just want to see.
Yeah, it won't pass.
We'll see. We'll
Won't
see.
pass. All the unemployed immigrants that are voting and all that, they're not voting for that.
You don't think? You don't think they would want they'd want the chance to see a grizzly bear?
It'll probably be a yes until the mail-in voting gets there.
and then
there'll be a
the shadow
resounding
government
no.
goes, nah, we're not doing grizzly bears.
There'll be a
You guys are crazy."
resounding no and a public voted on 5% sales tax increase or something to the past.
Well, it's wild,
It's
like the
nuts.
stuff that's going on in our country right now with different wildlife initiatives,
Yeah.
and Oregon just killed. Was it yesterday or the day before they killed the?
Well, they still have an opportunity to get it on the ballot.
What is it?
Okay.
So they found a percentage of the votes, or the signatures that they got to put it on the ballot weren't valid.
What do you say to that? Give us a summary.
Basically, it's outlawing hunting.
Okay, this is the
general.
one that's just outlawing hunting in general.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So they found, I can't remember the exact number of it, but they were trying to validate the signatures, and there was a decent amount of them that weren't validatable. But they have a period of time to still go get those signatures and get it on the ballot. So it still might be on the ballot. So it's not over yet. And if you the way the thing's worded, like, people are going to vote for that have no idea that you can't have livestock basically anymore. You can't process livestock.
They're gonna.
You can't hunt. You can't
pretty
process
wild.
livestock.
That'll
The
go to the
majority
Supreme
of
Court,
that
and the Supreme
state,
Court will be like, no.
the majority of that state is farmland and timber country, right? The population densities aren't, but outside of that, it's all farmland and timber country. You're going to tell those people they can't do that anymore? And then what's that land worth? Farmland where you can't farm?
Yeah.
Nothing. It's just it's the most idiotic thing I've seen try to get passed. And the fact that they gathered 137,000 signatures for it already, even though I want to say the number was like 6,000 or 8,000 of them weren't valid.
That's not a lot, though. If
I
it's
know
130 something thousand,
like,
or saying,
I read it and I looked at that and
Yikes.
went, yeah, they surpassed the number they needed by like 4,000 or something like that. So
Okay.
now they need to find another 4,000 signatures or something by a particular deadline that are valid, which I don't think is going to be that hard to do.
my
Like, I think it's
gosh.
still going to get on.
It sure feels though like you look at this stuff, right? Like we wouldn't have been talking about this 15 or 20 years ago. Like
No.
that would have been such a far-fetched idea. You'd have laughed at it. And it's not
Yeah.
funny now. And it just, things are changing so rapidly.
Well, yeah, but so would be needing proof of citizenship to vote like 20 years ago.
Sure.
Be like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yet we're having these arguments and discussions that maybe we shouldn't. Like, really? and one side of the aisle all vote no against it. Like every single one.
The Republicans hold every house of government, and they can't even get it passed.
But it's a 60%.
There's debate on if they can get it through that way or
they're
not.
trying to
Listen,
call it
I haven't even been. I'm so black pilled on it. I've been not paying attention lately.
Yeah, disconnected.
You know, Kelly's like, "Oh God, please stop, please stop."
I didn't mean to start anything. That's for sure.
It's reality, and it's what's going on right now, and it's important. It's important that it gets discussed because there's a lot of people that probably have no clue. I doubt there's anybody that listens to this that lives in Oregon that doesn't know, but maybe they don't. And maybe they should.
And the stuff they've been doing in Colorado.
Yeah.
Same thing. The wolves and now the fur bear stuff.
If somehow this gets passed in Oregon, you think for a second they're not going to try to pass it in California, Colorado, and Washington?
Oh, dude,
nuts.
Washington smoked.
Washington
for sure.
Oh, for
smoked.
sure. They'll pass it.
They'll be number 2. Yep.
Another mail-in state. Imagine that.
Yeah. Mass exodus of people, and they're all going to land in Montana.
That's
you're
right.
Looking,
yeah. And then you know what happens?
You're looking at the next Tennessee resident right now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The good news is that Tennessee is cool. We're not cool enough like Montana. There's a chance that in 20 years, you guys are literally full on liberal in Montana.
It could look very
which would be
different.
so wild just because Kanye West bought him some property outside.
Well, speaking of people moving, how about that sister company of yours, Bowtech, moving to freaking Houston?
Oh, are we talking about that?
Yeah,
well, so
this will
come out after. Colin's already been on here.
I know.
And we his will go out before yours.
I didn't get a chance
it's safe
to
talk
talk
about.
to him
I
this
texted
week.
him today. I was like, hey, it's cool to talk about this, right? Because it's going to be out after. He's like, yeah, sure, it's fine. So
yeah,
green light.
So yeah, you guys had a chance to meet Colin. I've spent a fair amount of time with him now. I've spent some time hunting with him early this spring. I've spent some time with him at a couple different events and whatnot. And I feel like Colin has a lot of great ideas, and frankly, he's got follow through. Like he's following through on stuff that he says he's going to do. And that's awesome, man. That's encouraging. And you know, one of the things I love, he was sitting in my office here a couple weeks ago. We were going up to the Red Lodge TAC. Him and his wife came out, and he was in the office there for one afternoon, and we were sitting in my office, and we were talking about, you know, different sites and stuff, just kind of looking down the road at different things that we're kind of thinking about. And you talk about a feeding frenzy, man. It was insane. It was ridiculous. You know, he's kind of like, well, what are you thinking? You know, and so I'm throwing some stuff at him, and it's like, there's stuff that hasn't been done. These are kind of some of my thoughts. And he was just like, oh yeah. And he's eating on it. And pretty soon he's like, well, what about this? You know, and so pretty soon we're doing this back and forth, and it's just like, you know, we're definitely very much on the same plane as far as a lot of the ideas that we have, and kind of seeing, you know, knowing what the current crop of sites is that are out there. Man, there is just so much great stuff out there, and all of the companies are great. You couldn't buy anything that's not awesome anymore. I think you'd have to work really hard to do that. But there is stuff too that functionally, I mean, I think that's more of how I typically perceive it, is functionally as a bow hunter. How can I make this tool better? Right? Sure. Like, how do I make it do something more different, better, lighter, faster, whatever the case may be, you know? And so it's pretty cool because with Colin, he's on that same train, right? He's riding that ride with me. And so we start bouncing stuff back and forth, and pretty soon it's like, we should have recorded that for the last 45 minutes. You know, just so that it's all banked up in one spot. But no, it's exciting. I think there's a lot of things that, you know, we have an opportunity. That's kind of how I choose to look at it. I'm always a glass half full kind of guy. It's pretty rare my glass gets empty. So I'm a glass half full guy. I look at it always as the opportunity side of it. And how do we build something that's better? You know, anybody can build new. That doesn't take much. But what was the purpose in it? Why did you build new? And did it actually solve a problem for somebody? Did you help somebody accomplish something they couldn't have done yesterday with what they were using? You know, and that's kind of how I look at it, is like, we have an opportunity to do that. Let's go do that. You know, let's find that guy that's at home. The guy, you know, in Kansas, that he'll never, you know, his whole goal is to shoot whitetails out of a tree stand. Okay, cool. He doesn't need all of the bells and whistles. And frankly, a lot of times he doesn't want them. It doesn't mean we can't give him a better tool. You know, or the guy that wants to go out and shoot TAC events, or the 4-H kids that that are out shooting on the line at 20 yards, like there is a better tool for everybody. We have an opportunity to go make that. So that's the kind of stuff I eat it up on. You know, that's what gets me fired up. And he gets fired up about those same things. Mm-hmm. So I think when you start kind of finding those alignments, and you guys have met him now, you know, he'll go do things. Like, I promise you that. I've seen him do a lot of things in the amount of time he's been with our companies. And so that gets me excited, knowing that we have some traction to go.
I'm going to push on it a little bit. I'm going to push into it a little bit just because I'm curious. So you've seen on the Bowtech side specifically, you've seen the ups and the downs and the downs and the further downs, and now a glimmer of maybe up. So have you thought about what the issue was with what had slowly started happening with Bowtech over time? Like, you're a problem solver. So have you identified the problem, and do you think Colin solves the problem?
Yes. I can say it that fast and easy.
Okay.
Like, yes. Yeah, we've kind of like we talked about earlier. I've seen things done a lot of different ways. You can appreciate each of those different versions for different qualities that it brought to the table, but maybe the complete package wasn't there. There were pieces that were missing, you know, and I think that's kind of one of the places that frankly we're kind of getting back to now is simplify, you know, simplify things down, don't overcomplicate it, condense it down, you know, and having passionate people in place that have a knowledge base and understand why you're doing a thing. Don't just go do a thing, know why you're doing the thing, and designing new products. And I think that makes a big difference. You know, companies that have seen longevity in this industry all share that same trait. You have people behind the brand that were passionate about what they're doing, and they still are today, you know, and they know quality, they know passion, they know usage, you know, those are the footsteps you want to walk in my opinion. And when you look at the companies that are still here today, that have those long-running successes, there's a reason for that. You know, those are good blueprints to follow. And I do think that's part of it. I think that just go back to your roots. Remember why you started this in the first place. Let's understand that, then take some steps forward. And so, yeah, I absolutely think that this is a good move moving forward.
Okay. Are you optimistic about it?
I am. I really am. I know you've got a little bit of pessimism in it and privately, but I am very optimistic. I think I've said this several times, but I've probably talked to half a dozen of you that I've known for a really long time that have been through all of this. And every one of them is more excited than they've been in the past 5 years. Right? Because it's all kind of been like a 5-year journey of watching the progression of kind of what happened. And that gives me hope, because I used Bowtech exclusively for a long time. Never contracted, never nothing. Just I chose that product because I liked what they were doing, and I liked the ideas that were going behind what they were doing, because they were looking at product differently than most brands were. They were like trying to resolve a problem, but not being stuck within how they made the thing. It was always like, well, just do it, like change it completely. They would do things like that, and I appreciated that. So I thought the innovation was coming more from there than most for thinking outside the box. You know, case in point, the General Guardian. Like, who thought of that? And that's so different.
Right.
Like, that's so far out of left field of how to make a bow differently. And that same sort of makeup of mounting where the limb flexes farther back on the limb, they still use that today. It doesn't move, and it doesn't have this weird janky looking pivoting thing that could blow up and kill you. But that idea sprang the fact that their limb is attached wider and farther apart than anybody else's, which is part of what gives them such a neutral riser. And that's part of why it doesn't torque so much. I mean, and nobody else really addressed that. And then you started seeing some brands try to incorporate that in their stuff as they went forward. You know, there were several things that they addressed that were common negative things in archery that nobody was paying attention to or did. So for a long time, I'm using that product. I like that they do that. I like that what they're working on, and I like how it shot for me. Shot good. Enjoyed it. And the last 5 years, I couldn't say that anymore. It got really difficult to say that. And I'll still pick up a bow and play with it and use it. I took a Alliance 33 on the javelina hunt. It was fine. I thought it was a pretty good bow. But I wasn't optimistic and hopeful, and I just kept, I think they had me on their dealer council at one point because they had during COVID, so it was all virtual. And was like, who's doing your marketing, and how do you not get this technology out into the world's view of important? Because nobody knows it. No one's explaining it well. No one's advertising it well. And it's the simplest solution to this problem that the industry's ever seen, and it works better than anybody else's solution to the problem. And it's simple, and nobody's talking about it. I don't understand. Like, what are you doing? And I wasn't on the council very long. Or they just stopped doing it. I don't remember how. I was like 1 year, and that was it. And I never heard anything back again. So I don't know if I pissed people off or what the deal was. But I was like, this is idiotic. Like, this is the most eloquent solution. And I want to say, I think I ended that conversation with, if you're not going to do something about that, license it. Because you're going to lose. Because they're going to figure out how to get around it. And the one thing that you have that's really making you unique is no longer going to make you unique. Now what? Thinking that you have the greatest technology in the world. Well, that's fine, but every brand is going to figure out a way around it to try to get their bow to do what you got your bow to do in a way that doesn't violate your patent. And all of a sudden it's going to be white noise, and you're not this leader in this. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't know. So I am very optimistic and relatively excited to see what comes forth in the next couple of years. I really am. Moving your entire facility out of Eugene, which I'm sure there's benefits to doing that too. Not the easiest state to function in. Is a lot. It's quite an undertaking, along with trying to launch product and all that. So that's going to be pretty interesting, and I hope no one has a heart attack throughout that time period.
Yeah,
because it's going to be brutal. Like, that's bad.
It's going to be a massive undertaking.
But you also have to look at, whenever a company changes hands, I always get real nervous for that company because it usually doesn't go super well. It really doesn't. And to see somebody clearly put themselves out there massively financially, obviously he's like super loaded, so it's probably not that big a deal to him. But to see that kind of money going out on a company that's been in I don't know, sales wise, I'm assuming they're in a decline state currently. It's pretty amazing to see, like, that he's throwing money at it, and like legit money at it. It's great. Like, I'm really optimistic in what they're trying to build and put out in a populated area. Is going to be pretty cool. I'm anxious to see it when it's done, and I'm anxious to see if Colin still has as much rope as he has to do what he wants to do. Like I said, I've talked to about half a dozen people, and they're all like, I haven't been excited in a long time, and I'm super excited about this. So it's cool. And to see somebody that young in that role too, to bring that energy and, that different perspective. I'm excited to see what unfolds, and I really think it's going to be good. I really do. I'm excited for it. So
I think if they leave him there long enough, then we get to see what happens. Like, because he gets to leave his imprint on it, right?
Right.
My fear is that there's too much tumult short term.
Yeah.
And they go, this just isn't fitting. And he never gets to leave his stamp on there. That's my fear. I'm not saying it's going to happen, because obviously we'll just have to fast forward life and then see.
Right.
But like, to me, this year's bow is not Collins, and next year's bow is maybe a hair more. And then the year after that will probably be like, okay, this was full on boat turned. Yep. Where is Bowtech going?
Yeah.
Manufacturers moved, manufacturing set up, everybody's hired. We've revamped all the things. Like, but they have a really hard 18 months in front of them.
Oh boy.
Like, really hard.
Yeah. But at the same time, I would like to think that if someone is taking that undertaking and directing that this is what we're doing, you need to implement it, right? They'd have some level of understanding with, this is going to be hard, and there's going to be some falls along the way that we don't have any control over.
Yep.
And then I would like to think he's got some sensibility with that. So I haven't met him. I hope to someday, but yeah, it's.
You don't
I think
turn
it's
a
going to be
switch.
good.
That's for
you
sure.
don't turn a switch,
Yeah,
and to
it's-
stand up both and have them both operating at the same time before you move it, like that's a lot, man. That is a ton. And you're I'm imagining a decent percentage of the employees aren't willing to move, right?
Yeah,
So,
I don't know what that looks like for them. Honestly, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have. I've got enough on my own plate, I guess. I
Right.
don't. I know what they've got going on for sure, but yeah, I just kind of stay over here. But yeah, I would assume most of those folks probably aren't going to go along with them, and that's hard, right? You hate to see great people not being a part of that process anymore. That's one of the downsides to it for sure.
Right.
So, I guess you're going to deal with that in that aspect of it. The flip side of it is to, having some visibility into it. I think that Colin is putting a group of people around him that he feels good about and that he trusts, and that's a good thing. I think he's starting in a good spot with it, and I'm excited to see where he goes with everything. Like Brandon said, it's going to take time to put your stamp on it and make it yours. It just does. You don't flip a switch. It doesn't happen in 6 months, 12 months. It just isn't like that. So it'll be interesting to see, but I believe he can. He's a doer. I mean, that guy is a grinder horse. He's always at the office, always. I'm not sure he leaves,
Mm-hmm.
When I had him in Red Lodge there a couple weekends ago, we went out and did some different things, a couple of different evenings, not late, just out doing a couple of different things. And by the third night, he was like, "Guys, I can't. I have to go back and go to bed. I'm cooked." So he was
7:30
shot.
p.m. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's got a lot on his plate, but I believe he can get it done.
All right.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
I do.
that's great.
So Josh, I got to ask you. I'm going to hit you now for a quick second
Oh
here.
boy.
No. It's really interesting to me. We were talking about the sites earlier, and every fall, at least 2 or 3 different times, Josh will text me, call me, whatever, and he's been shooting the dual track now for a few years, and it's kind of been a solid piece for him. Going into the 3-pin vertical piece, that kind of introduces a whole new aspect to this.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Do you find yourself having this strange in between vertical pins and horizontal pins? And it's a bit of a loaded question, kind of. Tell me about your experience there. Why do you prefer the verticals?
I prefer the verticals because it looks like one pin, and it's a lot easier for me to aim with. Those other dots are emergency use only for me.
Okay.
Like I want a 1-pin sight. Like I like that sight picture. I like that visual. I like the dot in the middle of the housing, and that's what I'm aiming with 98% of the time. The other pins give you a little security from, okay, I'm set at 20 yards and I've got a 30-40 there, right? So if something quick happens, that kind of thing, I have it covered if I need to. I've used a movable sight since the 90s. I've always had a movable sight since the 90s. I cannot comfortably use something different. And I've always had like the 1 pin, and just kind of, if I have to hold over or whatnot, I would. That's to me the smartest sight picture made, because I think it's the easiest thing to transition a guy that's shooting fixed pins into a movable with, because you still have it, but you have that sight picture that's super pleasing. When you're trying to aim, it's really, really easy to aim with one single pin up in the middle of a round housing. It lines everything up really easy. So that's why I like it. And I can get people that won't go away from like having a whole bunch of pins that they will. It's like, hey, you still have extra stuff here, but you have a cleaner sight picture, and I guarantee you aim with it better. And when you try it and you're fair about it and you give it some depth, it does aim better. Like it's easier and simpler for your brain to just put this thing in the middle of it and not be thinking about the other stuff. And I can see cleanly through my housing a lot better, so it's a lot easier to know I'm pointed in the right spot instead of having like a bar sitting over what I'm aiming at. So that's why I've always liked the verticals. As soon as I saw one, it seemed like the intelligent thing to use, because I always liked crosshair too, like just a crosshair with a couple of turrets on it, that kind of thing with rifle scopes, things like that. I'd rather move it, because I always take it from the argument of, are you ranging before you shoot? If the answer is yes, you got time to move your sight. If you can range, you can move your sight. If you can't range, different thing. If you're that kind of hunter that you're going to range 4 things and then you're done and you're never picking up your rangefinder again past a certain distance, then it's a different sight for you, in my opinion. But at the same time, I'm not going to shoot past probably 40, 45 yards without ranging the actual animal. My brain, I won't do it. I think it's a little unethical. If you don't know the exact yardage that the animal's standing at,
Would agree.
right?
Yeah.
So, 20, 30, 40, that's out to 40. And with the dual track, I just moved the pin down as far as it would let me go. And I had like 20 and 40. And if it was 30, I'd just shoot in between it and err a little more to the side of the first pin. But that covers the distance in which I don't feel like I have to range, or I would still want to range, but I won't allow myself to take a shot without ranging outside of a little past 40. So I can do that with that. Leave it to the top, move it around, and then I can be as precise as humanly possible the rest of the time. And that gives me that. Personally, I didn't really feel like I needed the 3-pin over the 2. I was happy with the 2, but I kept getting a lot of blowback from people that wanted a 3rd.
Yeah.
So that was where that feedback would come from. I need a 3rd pin in this. I need a 3rd pin in this. It wasn't me. It was customers.
Yeah.
Like constantly going, I just don't feel good about only having 2 pins.
We heard the same thing. I mean, as soon as we released the dual track, it was like, cool, you got 2, now where's 3?
Yep.
And it was like, holy smokes, let us get our feet under us with this. Like, and then we'll talk about that later. But
yeah, but that sight picture is just so easy to aim with. I mean, I remember barking at you for a while. Can you please just make 2 vertical ones, please? Like just a double, because the negative of the 1 is you also lose distance in shooting. Because if it's in the middle of your housing, you don't have pins down below to shoot farther with. You lose like 30 yards of your ability to shoot. I'm surprised somebody hasn't actually put like a pin right here in the bottom, underneath the ring, because that would give you, this is literally as far as you could possibly have a reference to shoot with, right? Maybe not necessary, overkill, etc. I get it, but at the same time, it's like I've watched people tape fiber optic to the bottom of their housings, so they had an additional pin, right? Well, you got fiber rolling around in here. Maybe terminate one of them right on the tail end, or have it be in the bottom of this little guy right here, fibered right in, say, and just a little bump in the bottom. But as you start putting things underneath, and that's the gripe I would probably give about this being here, this is going to cost me some range.
Yep.
That's
some reality to it.
And if there was a little pin in the bottom of it, probably wouldn't be nearly as bothered by it. Because like, well, no, you just gave me more range.
That's a marketing thing too. Because it's probably a little gimmicky. Let me see real quick.
Yeah.
It's probably a little gimmicky to do that, but you'd get something to talk about. Because the reality is with this triple pin, because you have that stack down here that's holding the actual pins, you can't drop those all the way down. So you're not getting it set directly on top of the bubble. Like that's not going to happen. So I've always been horizontal pins. I know you didn't ask me, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
I was going to ask you, Brandon.
And I appreciate that. I know my job here, everybody. I understand who I am. Josh was like, listen, you need to shoot vertical, single pin vertical, like try it. And what I noticed was I leveled so much quicker. Like there was something very intuitive about all the trees and all the things in nature that stand with this sight picture where you just go boop and up it goes and right in there. So I actually found that I acquired quicker with it. And you're exactly right, where your brain, no matter what you think, is making all these micro decisions at the same time. And so if you've got a bunch of horizontal pins that are sticking out, it's making choices to ignore those and then go through and select the pin. So a simpler sight picture is allowing your brain to make less decisions.
Yeah.
And so I am with you. I do think that a fun little tack pin down there would be a good gimmick.
The other thing that I've never done ever in my life with a multiple vertical pin is pick the wrong pin. Never done it.
Yeah,
Not
it's
once.
hard to do.
I do
I've
it
never
twice
done
every
it.
tack.
With a straight vertical pin?
With a horizontal. That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. There's something about the horizontal pins that you'll frequently pick the wrong pin.
It's easy to do.
It's super easy to do when there's one in a bar. Nope, doesn't happen because you're not shooting off those other pins. They're for emergency use only. You have the ability to get the extra distance if you need it, but you're not using them. You're using the back pin and aiming with that all the time.
Yeah.
You just are.
It's interesting to me. So I was asking this question just out of curiosity. I know for me, like, this is really the first time I've shot our dual track a lot. You know, I've got a dual track on 3 different bows. I've got a lot of bows. I have a problem, but
it's a good problem.
I've used it.
You could have
lot,
a needle in your arm. You're fine.
Right. But when I got to this site, you know, because of the ability to just gather more distance out of this site than our traditional sites, right?
Mm-hmm.
This really changed things for me in a way I did not anticipate. I've always used that bottom pin as the mover.
Mm-hmm.
With this one, for the exact same reason Josh is mentioning, my eye automatically is driven to the center of the housing, and I will shoot that top pin as the mover each and every time. I've never done that before, and that was not something I chose. That's just how it fell. And that's really interesting to me because I've used a bow sight a lot, and things like that don't just typically come up.
Right.
You know, but this did. And so that was pretty fascinating to me. You know, you'll hear me talk a lot about bow sights being a tool. I truly believe that. And, you know, the one place where, to Brandon's point, like horizontal versus verticals, you know, you talk about the dial portion of that. And I was explaining this to somebody just the other day that had asked me about it. The one place where with the vertical stuff, even at 3 pins, you know, whether you choose, you know, a 20, 30, 40, or you choose a 20, 35, 50, or whatever that is for you in your own shooting, you're going to make a choice somewhere about how much you're willing to move that, right? And what I mean by that is the amount of distance or the time you're going to take. If you're right, if you can range it, you got time to dial. That's for sure, but sometimes that time is shorter than others.
Sure.
And so it's like, how much are you willing to do that? And that to me is the interesting trade-off. You know, Western guys, for example, I can definitely see Western guys kind of being a little bit more hesitant with 3 vertical pins, for example, than having 5 horizontals.
Well, and that's who I've been dealing with my almost my entire life.
You know exactly what this looks like. And
Yeah.
so, but it's just interesting, the conversations that I have with guys and what that looks like in their opinions. And frankly, what I'm learning, you know, since playing with this side in particular, man, you are a vertical pin guy or you are a horizontal pin guy, but you're not really somewhere in the middle. There are very few people I've talked to that are like, no, I can shoot it both ways. I haven't talked to many of those guys. Most guys are like, nope, it's this or it's this, but it's not both. So I was kind of curious what that looked like.
Well, I think the reason you see that is because the horizontal pin guys haven't really given a vertical pin a chance.
Yeah, maybe.
They're just used to it. It's normal to them. They're not dabbling in those dark arts. They're not playing with that different sight picture and giving it a real fair shake. Because every person that I've known that's honestly taken it to heart and really put it at it doesn't usually go back. It's rare. It's a small percentage of people will flip back because it's easier to aim with. It just is.
Well, and that's one of the things, like, it's so crazy, right? But I think people enjoy hearing about this stuff, so I'll throw it out there, right? You know, so I look at, like, when we built in the ability to remove these pins and shoot it as a single pin, 2 pin, or a 3 pin, those things don't just happen by accident, right? You know, I look back to the early portion of this when we were going through this pin block, but the first year that I ever went to Redding, I literally just came from a hunt in Texas. I'm shooting a 70-pound bow with 5-pin horizontal sight. I'm lucky I could hit a car when I walked out of there. I had target panic so bad. I mean, I was a hot mess. And so, you know, I knew we'd be going back again the next year, and it was like, I will never do that again, ever. That was awful. Those orange dots, for whatever reason, I had 4 alarm fire bells going off upstairs the whole time. And so the next year I went back with a single pin sight, and boy, it was amazing how much all of those demons were exercised with nothing more than that. And so when I started playing with this sight, it was like, oh yeah, this feels familiar again. Yeah, I know what this looks like, you know. And so there are some of those weird little quirky things that come up that it's just like, okay, oh, well, if we make it so that we can just take a couple of those out, suddenly you make this really easy to work with, you know, or you make it an indoor sight, or you make it a 25 yards and inside, you know, whatever. So I don't know, man, it's just the use cases that you can always make your arguments for and how this stuff works and how you got there. It's pretty endless, but I always enjoy the backstories of kind of how that stuff comes about and why and what people's experiences were with it, right?
Black gold. We cure your target panic.
No, I won't tell you that, man. I won't tell you that at all.
It just seems like it's a fit around that right on the package. There you go.
Right? Problem solved.
Yep. Suddenly we just sold twice as many sites real quick.
Exactly.
Yep.
And then you get some people that are pissed off because they go, hold on.
I still can't hold but a foot within the dot.
Right. Yep.
Dots are funny.
I've never had it that bad where I can't even get it to the target.
That's a
I
wild
have.
when people talk about it just holding off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's-
like, oh yeah, I
that's
just sighted
wild.
in 12 inches below the freaking dot. I was like, oh wow, I couldn't fathom how bad that would be. Oh my goodness.
I've had it like that. I have. Yeah, I did that back in my probably like mid 20s. I was shooting a lot of 3D. I mean, just excessive amounts of 3D. I was single, so things were different back then.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, shot a lot. And I really did just develop target panic so bad, I would literally miss 3D targets at 20 yards.
Wow.
I mean, just flat out miss them. And it was like, okay, we got to have a timeout and a little talk with ourselves, And so I did. I actually stepped back from shooting a bow at all for about a year. And it was just like, if you can't do better than that, like you need to not hunt, I just stepped away from it completely.
Yeah.
And got to missing it pretty bad. It was like, nope, you need to stop and think about what you've done for a minute. I was still in timeout, and I kept myself there for about a year and a half, and I did finally kind of work my way back, and I was like, okay. And I was able to, get back to a decent spot with it, but whew, that's a terrible thing to have.
Oh, it's a horrible feeling. Just not being able to like always jitter and start flinching and whatnot. It's just, it's so bad. It's all in your head. It's all in your head.
It really is.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Well, that was nice. You got anything else?
Man, I think that covers it. I appreciate you taking the time to come down. I know we were back and forth with this a lot, trying to get this thing out of here. And oh man, just think of how great of a year we'd be having if you actually had these in January when you first showed me the one with the 3D parts in it. I'm like, oh man, excited. So we will. Are your plans still to make sure you ship every dealer some on that timeline? You still doing that, right?
Absolutely. We are going to be shipping them out as quickly as we can, obviously, and we want to get stuff in everybody's hands. It needs to be something that's spread to everyone. So,
are you doing pre-sales or not?
We are not.
We
are not doing any sales.
Don't do pre-sales because that's a disaster. Do you remember the dialed pre-sales when they were pre-selling and they couldn't ship, and then there was getting into hunting season and people were just pooping their pants over it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah.
We do everything we can to make sure that those sales go through the dealers if at all possible. We want it to route that way. We want to support those guys. They're the ones that built us. We want to build them back. So for us, it's pretty important for that to run through the dealers. And so no, it's not even on the website. It's not going to be for a while.
So when people will know because you'll tell them.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, if you're listening to this, obviously, and this should come out right around when they actually launch this product, real close to it, depending on scheduling and when you get done. Your shop, if they're a black gold dealer, there's a good chance they have some. So don't just necessarily run online and don't listen to Brandon. Go to your local pro shop, support your local pro shop. See if they have it before you try to buy it. All right. We will be getting a decent amount of them, and I want to say I ordered like 1,000 of them from you originally. So, and I won't get them all at once. I know I won't get them all at once.
You will not get them all at once. I will promise you that.
But there's a good chance we'll have them. So hopefully that works out for you. But check with your local shop first before you swing for the fences on this. Phenomenal site. Super jacked with it. This will be on my hunting bow. It's on my hunting bow right now. I took it off for this video. So check it out. They're pretty awesome.
Dude, thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me down here, guys.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Enjoyed the time and enjoyed being a part of this. So
Absolutely.
let's keep it rolling.
Absolutely.
All right.